Do you have a pension or are you a part of a pension scheme? If your answer is yes, then you might be making a big mistake that will reduce the money in your pot by over £100,000. For many people, pension is something you sign up to when you're starting a new job and then you forget about it. We are more focused on what our take-home pay would look like. But did you know that with just a few small tweaks, you could increase your pension pot by over £100,000? Whether you're in your 20s, your 40s, or even your 60s, it's never too late or too early to take control of your retirement savings. In this video, we will look at what that mistake is and steps you need to take to ensure that your pension is working as hard as you're working. But before we continue, let's start from the beginning. Pensions at the early stage really started like a gift from the government, and then the idea of state pension was introduced, and then company schemes was also introduced. What that means is that for the longest time, people in the developed world relied on everyone else but themselves to actually take care of them in retirement. And it's only in the last 30 years that that responsibility have actually changed and moved to the individual. That's you and me. But in reality, many of us still think like we are not responsible for our retirement. We still depend on the government or our employers to make the right choices for us. Seeing how terrible things were, where less than half of the people that were employed were actually investing into their company pension, the government stepped in and changed the game in 2012. They introduced the concept of auto enrollment. So instead of opting into your company pension, which was the norm at the time, you are automatically enrolled into the workplace pension scheme, and then you now have the extra responsibility to opt out. And it's been a smashing success. As we can see, the participation rate increased to about 90%. Yes, 90%. And with the latest figures, that's over 22 million people contributing the minimum of 5% and the employer adding a minimum of 3% to the pension pot. If this was the Marvel universe, that success would be the end of phase 1. But phase 2 is different. There is a new villain.
Fine. I'll do it myself.
And a lot of people will be in for a shocker if they don't take the necessary steps. What do I mean by this? The way auto enrollment works, for most people, the pension pot will be invested in default funds. Default funds are essentially the standard option for your pension investments. So if you don't actively choose where your money is invested, it goes into a default fund. I hope that makes sense. These default funds are actually designed to be low risk and diversified, conservative, only focusing on protecting your money, which is not bad in itself, but at what expense? At the expense of growth. And this means that many won't get the best outcome, which also means that you are missing out on significant growth that could boost your pension pot by tens or even hundreds of thousands of pounds. And by the way, this applies to DC pension, defined contribution pension. Now, the truth is, if that's what you really want, after careful analysis and weighing all the pros and cons, then that's good for you. Who am I, a bloody guy on the internet, telling you what to do with your money, right? But the recent report shows that 91% of employees don't know what funds their pension is actually invested in. So that means that there is no intentional choice here. The report actually shows that this leads to a potential loss of up to £180,000 over a lifetime. That also means that you end up retiring with £180 less money than you are supposed to actually get if you had just made a sensible choice. I don't know about you, but that's a lot of moolah to be leaving on the table. Then ask yourself if giving everyone the default funds sounds right. It doesn't sound right to me, because how can you have a one-size-fits-all option that really in reality doesn't fit anyone? That, my friend, is the real problem. That is why many will lose as much as £180,000 if they stay invested in the default fund. The question then is, How do we change that? The first step to changing that is to think differently. What do I mean by that? We need to have the end in mind. Many of us don't think much about our pensions, if we want to be honest, especially when we are young, because it's too far out. 30 years can look like forever. So why worry about it in the first place, right? The figures and the data I have shown should move us to actually change that type of thinking. Just imagine £180,000 more when you plan to retire. But that can't be possible if we don't make a change. The next part to thinking differently is actually to realize that the default funds are not recommendations from the pension providers, and there are better options that may be available. Because I've spoken to a couple of people and they actually think the default funds are what the pension providers recommend. No, they are not recommendations. You need to understand that. I want you to take time to explore the various investment options that are available within your pension plan. Now, how can you practically do this? How can you practically change these default funds? Like I said, it's not too late. But before we share that, if you're finding value from this video, please do give us the like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot. Thank you so much. Step 1 to changing this is to find out about the pension scheme that you are a part of. This also includes knowing who your pension provider is if you don't know it. And to do this, all you need to do is to contact your HR department and ask them these questions. Who is the pension provider? Is the work-based pension scheme only on qualified earnings, or is it on the whole salary? What percentage of my salary will the company match? Is salary sacrifice available for my pension contributions? Because this could be a fantastic option, right? Especially if you are a higher earner and you want to contribute more, for example. You might also want to find out, will the salary sacrifice impact my other benefits such as bonuses and company perks? These are some of the questions that could get you going, and you can use this sample email that's on the screen and send to your HR. This sample email is also linked in the description. You can also get it from there. Once you have this information, you can start making informed decisions about your pension. Step 2, get access to your pension information. Log into your pension provider's online portal, or if you don't have it, request access to that portal. Review the details of your pension from the portal, how much you've saved, where it is invested in, the fees that you're paying. Remember, this is your money and you should know all of this information, and you have every right to know how your money is being managed. And if for a second you think that the government or your employer or the pension provider actually cares about your retirement, trust me, you're mistaken, because it is 100% your responsibility. Step 3 is to review the pension details. So now you have access. It's time for you to review the specifics. Look at the investment option, the performance of the fund. You want to do a little bit of research. Look at the fees that are associated with the fund. Personally, I'm a big believer on investing in the lowest fee fund possible, because high fees can actually erode your savings over time, and it doesn't guarantee better performance. So you're just paying more for the same kind of performance basically. And if the platform is confusing, you could call your provider, call them and ask them all the questions that you need to ask, because they actually work for you. It is your money that is actually invested. It's not the other way around. You have all the power. So ask them, call them, ask them, talk to them. With all the information you have, step 4 is to optimize your pension. If your pension is invested in a default fund, I would consider switching to a more globally diversified fund that has a low fee. If you're closer to retirement, for example, you might want to opt for funds that prioritize stability and not just 100% stocks, right? But that is up to you to make the choice. This small change, this small insight can actually increase your retirement savings over time, like we've seen in the past. I have put together a full overview of everything that we've discussed today, including the email templates we spoke about, checklist, and all of that, and you can find that in the description below. The truth is, with most of the popular pension providers like Fidelity, Legal and General, Now Pensions, Nest, Aviva, the People's Pension. The options for you to invest in are actually limited, and really it's all about picking the best fund from the lot that they do have to offer. But what you choose, I am very confident will most likely be better than the default option. So go to work tomorrow, send that email to your HR and find out all you need to know about your pension, including who the provider is, then what they are charging, where your money is invested, and do a little digging to see if there is something that might actually suit you better. I hope this video helps you. Don't forget, we have all the info in the document in the description. And also, this isn't investment advice. I am not a qualified advisor who knows your circumstance. I'm just a random dude on the internet talking. If you enjoyed this video, please do like and subscribe, and see you in the next one.